The Powertrain Perspective podcast is sponsored by TransStar Aftermarket Solutions.
Welcome today to Powertrain Perspective from Transmission Digest and TransStar. And we're going to start today, we're going to talk about hard parts, and we're going to talk about where they come from and how they come from there and whatnot. And joining me today, Joe Messana, who's the general manager of G-Core. And Joe's been in the hard parts business just about forever. Morning, Joe.
Good morning. How are you, Bobby?
Hey, I'm fine, and I hope you are as well. I understand you got quite a bit of snow this morning.
Yeah, snow and ice. March comes in like a lion and goes out like a lamb.
Okay, well, let's hope that's true. So tell me, you source hard parts from a variety of methods. You're tearing down cores. You're maybe getting Gaylord boxes from people who tear down cores and then send them. And then you probably have, in certain instances, some aftermarket new parts on your shelf as well. Go ahead and talk about the various ways you find the hard parts that you sell.
Well, primarily, Bobby, we buy the whole core directly from the recyclers and a handful of core suppliers. And then we source the parts based on what our sales are, based on if parts are discontinued at the OEM sites, and what we know, quite frankly, is going to be hot forever. In doing that, I don't know if you want the whole process of what we do, but basically, all the parts we strip are out of core units. I try not to buy or source the parts outside of us because I don't know where it came from, if that core has already been remanned, or if somebody machined something.
And speaking of that, you probably do, you don't just take any hard part that falls out while you're harvesting them from a core. You probably at least do a visual inspection on non-critical parts and probably some measurements on critical parts.
Yeah, every part number we have is documented, photographed, tooth counts, angle, all part numbered. And then, yeah, I don't let teardown scrap too much unless we previously authorize it, because they're dismantling and they don't know what my machine shop is capable of doing. So I leave the quality check to the departments in another building that processes all the parts for our different places we sell.
Right now, are there any hard parts that are particularly scarce, hard to find, is usually the way we describe them?
It's crazy. You'll know these numbers. The old C6, the old Power Glide, TH350s, TH400s, those are all, we used to buy them by droves. We don't find them anymore, and it's still hot in the market. And then you got to jump all the way forward to the 10 speeds. There's a lot of 10-speed units that are needed for the rebuilders, the 10L GM and the 10R and such. Yeah.
And you talked about scrapping. How do you handle scrap at your operation?
Yeah. So, the transmission line separates wire harness from the steel from the aluminum, and we have a melting operation. As I think you were out here, if you recall, we run three aluminum furnaces that run 20 hours a day, 5 days a week. So we're pouring right around 1.1 million pounds of aluminum a month, and that's based on what we process through the engine transmission department, and sometimes we'll do recoveries. But the primary source is what we strip off the cores.
Tell us a little bit about what determines the price of a particular hard part? I'm sure scarcity goes into it, but I'm thinking you as a salvager also realize that scrap metal prices may figure into it as well.
Yeah, if you remember, you came out and did an ad, front page cover for us. Um, I think that might have been 2012, and it was Just Ask. We ran a program called Just Ask. I don't know what you need. So I never really worried about the snap ring because I felt that was as important to the rebuilder as a forward drum. So our idea was save anything anybody wants, save a quantity so we always have it. So I don't go by what's scrap and not. I mean, we'll sell snap rings for 25 cents. Nobody makes any money, but it's a service to any rebuilder who's going, oh, shoot, we lost that part. Where do we find it? So uh, that's how we value parts. It's what the customer needs. Now, there are commodities. 6L80 parts are absolutely screaming right now, right? Well, you only get so many in, and anybody who's doing this, like us in the country, same thing. So you have to value, is it discontinued? Is it not discontinued? Is it available? And then who the customer is. You know, we really work with the remanufacturers in this country to be a good supplier. So we do the best we can to take care of the price because it affects their cost too.
So how do you go to market? Do you strictly go to reman factories? Do you sell to distributors? Do you sell direct to retail shops? How does that go?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we sell all the remanufacturers in the country. We sell wholesale, private label to one or two big customers, and then we'll supply other parts distributors. Bobby, I don't have a soft kit program here. We tried. There are other companies out there that do it great. I know core and I know how to get it. So I'd rather just handle the processing of the parts and supplying them that so they don't have to worry about the grease, the oil, the aluminum, the steel, the hiring of people. So rarely will we sell a shop. Every now and then somebody will knock on the door and in Columbus and say, "Hey, we've been looking everywhere for this. Can you help us?" And we help them out. But that's about the extent of it.
Yeah. And when you say that, I should point out you're located in Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Yeah.
So what else can you tell us before we end this today about the hard parts market in general, challenges, what have you?
Yeah, so the industry has really changed since I first met you. The recyclers are automotive recyclers are incredibly aware of the core value of not just the transmission, but the engine, the alternator, starter, and so on and so forth. So they're buying cars now based on the recovery of the core. The core used to be an afterthought. Now it's a commodity for them. They know they could sell a running 6L80 transmission to someone, and if they put a core charge on it, get that core back, sell it to someone like G-Core or another core source, and double up on their money, or not double, but a quarter of what they would sell the runner for. So there's a great awareness which we have to have in the recycling industry because of the discontinued programs that are going on with OE. Every day I look on the internet sourcing parts for whatever, it's always this part is discontinued. I just had one for a 5.7 GM engine, Escalade 1999 oil filter, part discontinued. Well, that's huge for our industry. If you apply that to the transmission components, specifically for our talk. I'll be speaking in Las Vegas at the REMA show to scrap facilities to try to give them an awareness of the importance of maybe finding the good core rather than just sending it through the shredder. Because everything that gets shredded, it's gone forever. So awareness of the core value, processing of the core, and then just being a straightforward, honest supplier to your customers and doing what you say you're going to do. I think that's for any business that's the most important thing. Otherwise, you'll be out of business.
Well, Joe, I appreciate your time, and I appreciate the fact that you're willing to share some of your lore and knowledge with us today. It no, it's good to have somebody who knows what they're talking about and can describe this little segment, if you will, of the transmission aftermarket. Thank you for your time.
Well, Bobby, appreciate all that you guys do too. Thank you.